Hi, everybody. Hi, everybody. Hi, everybody, and welcome back to the Talking About the Big Stuff podcast with Michael Cole and Matthew Cravat. I am Michael Cole.
And I am Matthew Cravat.
All right, Matthew, do you want to introduce the topic for this evening, or should I?
I'm embarrassed about it. I don't even think we should be doing this topic.
Yeah, I was actually thinking that asking you would be one of my regrets. So yeah, tonight we want to talk about regrets, or as the title says, Regerts. I thought of this topic because I have a few. I know you just sang that like 10 minutes ago before we started officially recording, but yeah, I have a few, and I think that it's something that I want to talk about. But I also think that I want to hear your. I think this is my prediction as to what I think your regrets will be when it comes time for you to speak.
Hiring you.
You're gonna say, I regret that my parents didn't fuck me up and give me more regrets. I regret that I don't have any regrets. Like, why couldn't my parents be like bad parents and give me regrets?
I hadn't thought of that, but I say that enough about specific things. I should say it about the general too.
Yeah.
Damn, they're good parenting.
Yep. Yeah. Sucks. It's amazing that you could be funny and not have trauma.
But I'm an atheist Jew.
Yeah.
Like my theory for comedy is you have to in some way be outside of the mainstream culture looking in. So if you're a typical white Christian male, you got to be fucked up to have, or be super brilliant, one or the other, to have your outside view. If you're part of any ethnic minority that's gotten shit from where you live, then you don't need that. You can just look out from. I'm already on the outside. Like I don't think eggs are full-grown chickens. And in America now, apparently eggs are full-grown chickens.
Nice. Yep. That's true. They are full-grown chickens. I like with everybody using that example. I've been thinking all week long about George Carlin. You know what I'm gonna say?
No.
How come when it's a human, it's an abortion, but when it's a chicken, it's an omelet? So.
Yeah, well, whenever I used to make egg salad, I'm like mayonnaise is just egg and oil, right? So chicken salad is chopped chicken fetus and chicken fetus sauce.
Nice. Yeah, I really hope Sarah doesn't make chicken for dinner. That would be one of my regrets. No, to dive in honestly to the topic. So there's two directions I want to tackle this from. So the first is I'm a bipolar person who has had severe depression, and one of the ways that my depression has manifested itself over the last 20 plus years is guilt, and in that guilt, regret. I think kind of go hand in hand the way that I feel the guilt. So I've been working on it, but so not everything that I felt guilty or shame about immediately translated into regret, or directly translated into regret, but I will give the example of in the times in my life when I have made someone feel shitty and I've been aware of it, whether it was on purpose or just carelessness. I pretty quickly feel guilt, and then I feel regret over it for a long time. And in a lot of the cases, I think that I probably feel that sense of guilt and regret much longer than the person that I upset in the moment. I am thinking of an example, but I don't want to call the person out because I've been telling them to listen to the podcast. But I
You regret that now.
yeah, no, because he's awesome. But no, I feel like sometimes when there's been a lot of shittiness, and I think there's a lot of shittiness that we have that's I was a teenage boy one day, and one day, and then I grew this big lustrous beard, and people were like, "You're 40." And I'm still not 40 yet. I got 6 months and 2 days left in my 30s. But um, yeah, those moments of shittiness, I think back. I can think of almost every one of my friends that I knew when I was a teenager that I'm still friends with. I think of something that I said or did, and they did and said shit to me. Like it's not like it was one way. Um, but I think of those things and I regret them because I feel like I don't. I wish I had never been a shitty person. Like I get that we're all stupid some at points in our lives, but I wish that I'd never been a shitty person. So I regret that.
I don't know if I regret my shittiness. I mean, I feel like they deserved it.
Okay,
Like I was good at making people cry in high school, but it was like shitty preppy people, and they needed to be taken down a notch, and I was just the man to do it.
okay. So that's the difference between a sociopath and a normal person.
But how do you what are you assuming I'm wrong? Some people deserve it. Like I'm not, didn't take them out behind the, dumpsters and beat them with a baseball bat, but I destroyed their ego.
Yeah,
I had my calculus teacher wrote in my yearbook something about being careful with my wit because it's so sharp that I use it as a weapon.
that's cool. Um, yeah. So that's the first way that I have like the first thing, the first direction for my regret. The thing that made me think of the topic and really though was that I'm reading a book and it's called Shaking the Sleeping Self, and it's a memoir about that a guy wrote. He was when he turned 30, he rode his bike from Oregon down to Patagonia over the course of I don't know 14, 16 months. I'm not that far into the book yet. Um, and I've been reading I've been alternating for the last year or two between a fiction book and then some kind of nonfiction. But when I read nonfiction, it's something like that. The last nonfiction book before that was in Into Thin Air. Um, and the more I read these nonfiction, I've read several. I've read two books about walking across America. I've read a couple of books, about doing these things that I think I don't want to climb Everest like into thin air, and I don't want to ride a bike down the tip of South America. But the idea that I kind of wish that in my 20s before I met Sarah, I had done something that like I don't know what that thing is, but I regret that I didn't
It's
do
funny
some.
because you did stuff, but because
Yeah.
you did it, you don't realize you did it. Like moving out to Colorado and living in Colorado as a young man, and then
Yes.
having to come back. Like that's something that other people regret. They never did. They stayed where they lived at home until the way they lived as an adult. You had this cool adventure living in Colorado that you just don't consider an adventure because you did it. Had it
Okay.
been
I'm
something you
I'm gonna
didn't do, it would have been a regret.
yeah. Uh I'm gonna like throw this out at you about that because that is an example of something that I don't. While I did go to Colorado, I don't think I had the adventure. So when I moved out to Colorado, we did not really have. We were working crap. My ex girlfriend and I were working crappy jobs. We didn't have that much money, so we were really. I wouldn't say we were poor. We were broke, and so we didn't do anything. We hung out in the house. We hung out at our parents' houses, uh, and we drank. And I didn't even drink that much, so I hung out while everyone else drank. And Sarah and Logan and I went to Colorado in 2018. While I was still working with you, we went to Colorado on a 8-hour layover on our way to California. And I on the layover, we went up to Estes Park, and I showed her a bunch of stuff in the area that I lived there when I was, after Estes Park, and I showed her a bunch of things, and she said, "Colorado's so cool. I can't wait to come back and have you show me more stuff." And I was like, "Oh no, that's everything I did
I'm
in the
done.
year and a half. I was done in 3 or 4 hours of driving, of driving around the area. Like I did not do anything there, and that's just partly because I was broke, partly because Sarah is the person who inspires me to like. Sarah is restless, and so we go out and we will, we go to Disney World every weekend that we get a chance, or we'll go drive to the beach, a 3 hour ride, a 2 hour ride to the beach, and depending on which beach, and then you'll hang out there for 3 or 4 hours and then drive home the same day. Like, and I never did any of that before her. So yeah, you're right that I did things, but I wish I had done some grand adventure that a young single person does, like walking across America, or going into the, I don't think I would have done great, but going into Peace Corps, or what I'm saying, just some like, I read Into the Wild. Into the Wild is excellent. I don't wish that I had died of malnutrition and
Well,
berry
that would have been
poisoning.
cool though.
Yeah.
You should do that.
I was reading that when Logan was born. Um, that was the
Oh, you're
book I
not
read in
allowed
the
to
hospital.
anymore. You got a kid. I was like,
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is, there. Okay, so a lot of those kind of adventures that I never thought to have, I now have. Like, I don't. There's certain
now
things. Walking the Appalachian Trail
it would
or
be
walking.
selfish of you to do some of them if there's any danger associated with them.
Well,
Like I
also
in
that too.
1997, I was supposed to go skydiving with some friends,
Yeah.
and the date we were supposed to go ended up getting canceled because it had rained for like 4 or 5 days straight, and they were like, the ground is too soft to safely land. You'll break your leg landing, so
Hmm.
you have to reschedule. And then like a week later, Madhavi found out she was pregnant.
Yeah.
And she was like, "Well, you're not widowing me now. You could widow me last week, but I'm not leaving me with a kid." So I was
Yeah.
never allowed to do my skydive.
Yeah. There are those. So like I went parasailing last year. I've been parasailing several times. There's stuff like that that I don't. The danger part is, I mean, parasailing's not the same thing, but the danger part is a factor, but also the like time, the time that you have to dedicate to something. Like if you think about hiking the Appalachian Trail, that's a 3 month thing. I can't. When I could do that when I retire,
See you,
like
Logan. I'm leaving for 3 months.
exactly, like the Pacific Crest Trail, or walking across America, or even if I,
You need to get a Quest, like Oculus or Quest or whatever those
oh,
things are.
I thought you meant like from a wizard. You need a
You need
quest. He will send you to Mount Doom.
it is a quest. You can't just walk into Mordor though. You need to take a train or something.
One simply does not simply walk into Mordor.
Yeah, you need a bullet
I
train.
really thought you meant a quest like that. That's
Yeah.
hilarious. That
No, I meant like Oculus or the new super expensive Apple iPad, Mac Apple version. But
yeah. No, I understand
and
what you're
then
saying, but
you can virtual walk it like every day. I'm walking for
well,
an hour. Don't bother me. I'm in Patagonia. Oh, it's
no,
cold. Put
but
ice cubes under my feet. I want to be cold.
I think that there's a lot of life experiences, and I'm talking about stuff that a lot of people don't do. I'm not talking about stuff that everyone does, but there's things that like
You
that.
ever killed a homeless guy and buried him?
No, but like I think that there is things that give you a perspective on life and change your thinking. And I think putting on an Oculus Quest, while it may change your like spatial relations and stuff, is not really changing your thinking. And I'm not talking about. Yeah, I mean, obviously, drugs can do that, and there's all kinds of ways to achieve that. But like things that make you understand the world and your place in it, and sometimes they make you feel smaller and sometimes they make you feel more connected. I think that's my regret, is that I didn't, when the time was appropriate, do some grand thing to try to understand, to try to yeah, because I don't think I won't get that time back unless I wait till I'm retired, essentially. And it's like, and Logan's off with his family, and I don't really see Sarah doing it. So unless like Sarah's like cool with me disappearing for 3 months, or you know
So, I mean, I think you can. I don't think you need to tell her you're doing it. I think just go and do it and say, "Honey, aren't you excited that you're married to such an adventurous guy?
that he just left you.
I met this woman, and she and I are traveling the Appalachian Trail together in bathing suits with just eating bark and acorns."
You're a pain in the ass.
And
um
That's what she said.
Um, great. So glad you could take this seriously.
I'm very serious.
I regret suggesting this topic.
I don't remember my regrets because I deal with them and I move on. And it's like people talking and go, oh yeah, I had one of those. Like, like I had a situation like, I mean, I guess I have the biggest regret I have is one where I wouldn't have done anything differently. Like it would play out the same way, you know, but was that the fact that my brother and I didn't talk for years. But like with what he said and what my wife said and what he felt and my wife felt, it was the right thing that we needed to separate to get back together in a healthy way. So I wish that situation had never needed to happen, but it needed to happen.
Right. So I will say this about my regrets. My regrets are things that I think if I could go back in time and change them, I would not be where I am right now in a lot of ways.
Yes,
That
Kirk, tell me about it.
and so like I don't like if I had gone and done if I had gone off and did the Appalachian Trail or walked across America or did some grand adventure, would I have met Sarah? And the chances are that I would not have met Sarah and I would not have Logan. So I'm not
So,
so
right.
when I say
Every time
regret,
Madhavi laments not going to UNC and majoring in film, I'm like, you wouldn't have met me. Like your entire life would have been different. You'd be working with Spielberg, but you wouldn't have me. And what would you rather have? Which Jew would you rather have, Spielberg or me?
yeah. And I think like my regrets are kind of conditional in that like I regret that I didn't do them, but like if I could go back and figure out a way that I could do them and still end up with Sarah and Logan, I would do them.
Yeah,
So
regrets. I've had a few. Then again, I don't know, too few to mention. I mean, I did what I had to do, and I saw it through without exception. I planned each charted course and each careful step along the byway, and more, much more than this. I did it my way.
thank you,
You're welcome.
thanks, Frank.
I know you were on the verge of quoting Kirk in Star Trek Five.
What does
I
he
need
say?
my pain. My pain is what makes me who I am.
Yeah, I don't know. Oh, I did want to show the audience and you something that Sarah got me for Valentine's Day. Um,
It's not just not a recreation, is oh. Oh, you got a big stuff.
yeah, and she wrote #1 podcast on it. I got to get it mounted somewhere. I just don't have that much free space on the walls because that's
They're right there. Take down those stupid feet things. What the hell is that garbage?
Logan's baby hand and feet prints, and
Eh,
then
trash it. Trash it.
my all the places in the country that the three of us have been.
Mm-hmm. Mister, I don't do anything. Got a zebra. You got a fruit stripe gum map.
It does look like fruit stripe gum. The orange is me, so like I've been to Nebraska and Iowa, and they haven't. Yeah, That's what I
I
could
like you
brag.
have a
I've been
big
in
gap in the.
Nebraska.
You got a big gap in the middle of the country where it's like there's no reason to go any of these places.
Well, I drove from. Am I looking at this? Is this Massachusetts? I
A little
drove.
higher. A little higher.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Sorry,
I'm look.
I was just quoting Star
I'm not a
Wars.
weatherman. I can't do this backwards looking at my shit. Like, so I drove from Massachusetts to Colorado. That's why. And then I've driven from Texas to North Carolina, and I've obviously done the whole East Coast. I have not done Oregon. That's why you see no orange here, but I've done Washington and California and Arizona and Nevada and Utah. So I need New Mexico, and then I got these couple states in here, and then I got the whole top. We've been recording. We've been going on the podcast on this episode for 18 minutes. Holy shit! I feel like we've already exhausted the topic.
Yeah. So I mean, I wonder if I have comedy regrets. As in, like, there is definitely like jokes I've made or situations I've been in that have made other people uncomfortable, but never by intent. And so, like I feel like I apologize for those when I can. And sometimes the apology is didn't mean for that to happen to you, but the joke was the joke. I was in an improv show. You can't control. 100% what happens. It was never intended to be bad. So I regret that there were times that people were hurt or upset or whatever.
Yeah.
Regret those. And they wouldn't have changed who I am. So those, like, if I go back in time and say, no, don't make the Kristallnacht joke. Skip the Kristallnacht joke. So that one wasn't my fault. I only yes-anded it. I didn't create it.
Do you have any regrets in your marriage?
Um, Besides having kids, um, I regret that we did not travel more in the 5 years before we had kids,
Yeah,
when it was easier to do.
that's the problem. Is you don't have money as much at that point in your
Yeah,
time.
that's the thing. Is like we didn't have the money to travel, and then we had kids, and then now we have elderly parents, so we can't leave for an extended period of time. Though my parents want to send us on a trip. They want us to go to Alaska. They went on a cruise to Alaska a couple of years ago, and we couldn't go, and they want us to go.
That's
And
nice.
I don't know that we want to go on a cruise in the world of the COVID land, but we've been watching videos on this train that goes like from Anchorage to
Denali. Yep.
Denali, and from Denali up further to another point.
Fairbanks, maybe.
I think so. Like it's 7 hours to Denali, and then like 4 more hours to Fairbanks.
Yep.
And but you can stay in Denali like in cabins for a couple of days. Like you don't have to
This is
just
one of my
do it.
dream trips that you're describing, and I've
Yeah, we.
actually planned this out.
I think we're gonna do it next year. We're watching the
Nice.
thing. Might wants to get the gold treatment of the train where you're on the upper level. That's just a huge dome over you, so the whole train ride you get to see 360 around you.
Yeah, it looks amazing, and that's that. Yeah, I guess that's similar, like to what I was saying about doing it when I was single and or young. But
Yeah. It's funny because when I graduated high school, I went on an organized teen tour through Europe. And my thing was, most people do this after college, but this was the 80s and the Cold War. And I was like, I don't know if there'll be a Europe we can travel through after college. Like who knows?
yeah,
So we did like a tour that was 5 days in London, 5 days in Paris, then a couple of days in Zermatt, and then a couple of days in Geneva, and then 2 weeks just bouncing through um, Italy, a couple of days in each city, going all the way down. And we were supposed to go to Greece, but that summer there was a bombing in the airport in Athens. So we were like, maybe we shouldn't go to Greece. So we ended up going to Sicily instead.
yeah. Did you ever go to Israel? Like, isn't there a when you're like a late teenager? You
A birthright trip.
yes, I didn't know the name of it, but yeah,
Yeah. No, my husband and I always say we should do, like when I retire, the three I's. Go to Israel, and like do like a month tour, like go to Israel for a week, then fly to India for like a week, and then go to Italy, so at least we know that we enjoy some of the food.
the food in India would probably be pretty amazing. And Israel, I don't know the like it's specific to Israel, but like there's lots of
Yeah,
good food in the area.
there would be lots of Mideastern food. It would be fine. India is tough though, because depending on where you are, it's not always great for an outsider to eat the bacteria that's there. Like in the
Oh
hotel,
yeah,
big hotels is where you have to eat a lot of the time, because just you don't have immunity to some things. It's like going to South America, going to
yeah,
Mexico.
yeah. That makes sense. But yeah, I like how Ireland didn't make it on the Big I trip.
Shit, no, man. What, crazy?
I don't know.
They're gonna eat
Well,
potatoes? I mean, potatoes all day?
yeah, I mean, food wise, it's not a great trip,
Lucky Charms?
but it's beautiful. I mean, the little bit of Dublin that I saw in 4 hours was
Did you
pretty
know that's
nice.
the fastest growing city in the world?
Dublin?
It's always Dublin. Oh,
Are
the
you from
dad joke.
Ireland? Because my
Hard with the
penis
dad
is
joke.
Dublin. Because when I see you, my penis is Dublin, is what I've heard before.
Well, that doesn't make sense. If I'm from Ireland, what does that have to do with your penis? I think your penis is from Ireland. You're very confused. Are you from Ireland? Because you're overweight. Maybe you should Belfast. How does that feel? How do you like it? Irish jokes. It was say this was last week we talked about my son's first funny joke was how many potatoes it take to kill an Irishman.
Yep, I remember.
And
It
for
was a
those of
good
you who don't
one.
know the answer, you have to go back and watch last week's episode, or listen to last week's episode. And you can listen to us on patreon.com/talking about the big stuff.
Yep. You can also listen to us. You can watch these episodes on YouTube uh, and on anywhere podcasts are found. But anyway, um, should we begin to wrap up? I'm hungry, but
Sure.
we've been going for 45 minutes. Um,
That's a regret of mine too, because I get sore when I go for 45 minutes.
yeah.
My neck at least starts to ache.
Giggity goo. Anyway, uh, yeah, Logan a few weeks ago was like, "Can I watch Family Guy?" And we were like, "No."
No.
And then he was like, "Maybe we could just watch like one episode and see if it's okay." And I'm like,
No,
"Yeah."
I've already watched an episode. No.
I was like, maybe we watch the very first episode and see, because I'm like, I think it didn't get that intense till after. And the first episode was fine. And he goes, maybe I can watch the next episode. And Sarah was like, no. And he wanted to, like a year or so ago, he wanted to watch Rick and Morty. And I said,
Yeah,
we'll watch Rick and Morty until the moment there's something I don't want you to see, and then we will never watch it again.
that's the opening sequence.
And he goes, okay. And then it was the uh Rick Sanchez, you son of a bitch, that episode. And I don't care about the swearing, so it went for, he goes to all the different people to make
The heist
the
episode.
the crew cruise, one flew over the crew cruise nest or
Uh
whatever.
huh.
And it was when they get into the heist feud or whatever, and someone gets cut right down the middle, and I was like, and we're done. And that was probably 30 seconds. So, and then, but for a day or two afterwards, he was like, "Rick Sanchez, you son of a bitch."
So when Jacob was about 15, we're big Doctor Who fans here in the house, and
Yep.
there's a spin-off show in England called Torchwood, and we watched that. It's a more adult, but Jacob was very mature, so he watched all that. And there was a U.S. one season of Torchwood a couple of years later on Showtime, and it was much more graphic, and it played into um, Jack being bisexual much more with graphic sex scenes with men and women in different episodes and stuff, and pretty erotic scenes, but a little too graphic for a 15-year-old boy, right? So he's like, "Can I watch the American version?" And I said, "I don't think it's appropriate. It's a little graphic." And he pauses for a second, and then he goes, "Would now be a good time to tell you I've illegally downloaded the first 5 seasons of Game of Thrones and watched them?" And I
Nice.
said, "Okay, go ahead and watch Torchwood and stop downloading movies, TV shows illegally. I will get you HBO."
Yep.
That's the
So,
problem with having a genius kid who's a tech genius. He figured out how to torrent at 12, apparently.
so did well. I think we were. I was probably 14, I guess, because torrenting and wasn't really a thing yet. But we had like you'd go on Napster and you'd be like porn, and you'd see what comes up, because you could find porn online, but it was really short clips. And when I say short clips, I mean some of them were like 30-second like
Yeah, yeah.
snippets.
They're basically GIFs. That's the best you can get.
Yeah.
Yeah, our neighbor came over one time and said when her boys, they're twins, and that they were like 9 or 10, and she found that they were like the search terms in Google that they had been searching were like the names of characters on the Disney Channel, like naked or tits or stuff like that. Like it was like Hannah Montana boobs, and stuff like that.
What they need to do, what the kids need to do is rule 30. Is it 34 or 24?
34.
34. Because then the parents not going to know. They're going to be like, why did my kid look up Hannah Montana rule 34?
Let me see. Oh my God.
Why is there a tentacle? Um,
There's testicles all over me. Like an octopus. Testicles.
yeah. All right. So, yeah, any last thoughts on regrets? We didn't really talk about regrets as a topic. We talked about our
We had
personal
some
stories, I
regrets.
guess.
Yeah, I guess other people have regrets. They have a few.
Yeah. I regret that you've now made that joke 4 times.
I mean, I don't. That's the only thing I think of when I hear the word. It's no regrets and regrets. I have a few. I mean, that's
yeah.
that's an instinctive response every time.
Yeah, I've worked through, so I don't think that my regrets that I was talking about earlier about like the guilt regrets. I don't think I have them as much anymore because I think I was able to put things into perspective and realize that if the person that was hurt doesn't feel bad about it anymore, I shouldn't feel bad about it anymore. I just need to not repeat the behavior. So like as long, so so I'm talking about stuff that's 20 something years old and I was feeling shitty about it until like a year and a half ago. So
Yeah. I regret things if people feel bad about it. I regret they feel bad about it. I regret that I did something if it was something I could have not done. But I'm also been luck pilled, so I have a certain amount of I behave the way I was going to behave because that's who I am, and there's not much you can like. If I was in the same situation, I would do the same thing because that's who I am, and that's what the inputs in my life drive me to be. I mean, I've
yeah,
never done anything horrible, so I mean, except for that, one homeless guy that Mikey and I buried by the
oh
railroad
my,
tracks. But frankly, you have to do it at least once to know the experience and know that you don't want to do it too often.
I about 2 years ago, um, I was talking to a coworker, and she is she doesn't work with me anymore, but she was she was a um, she's a very, I don't want to say bland. That's the wrong word. She has no trauma, no like nothing seems to have ever gone wrong in her life, and she's very nice and she's funny and kind. But like there's just no layers to the onion. She is not a two-dimensional person. I don't mean like that, but
She
there
doesn't have
isn't.
any seasoning.
Yeah, she doesn't have any of that sweet trauma. And I said to her one day, we were all teasing her or about like being kind of like vanilla or whatever, and I said, well, there was that one time when you killed that homeless guy on the train, and or no, when you killed that homeless guy, and she goes, what? And I was like, the homeless guy. You and your friends when you were in high school killed the homeless guy. And she goes, I told you about that. And I was like, what? And she goes, I first of all, we didn't kill him. The train. She was on a train from Raleigh to Charlotte to go to Carowinds when she was in high school, and the train. I don't even think it killed the person. I think it was just the train stopped for an hour while there was some kind of emergency in the tracks. And she thought she had told me that and that I was referring to that
Like
when
it
I
was
like
her fault the train hit someone.
and I was like, no, I was just like it's the
That's like
the
a friend.
premise for so many like horror movies, like you thought he was dead and he comes back, like I know what you did last summer kind of thing.
Yeah, it's like when I was in orientation. We did an orientation weekend for freshman year of college, and there was this girl on the bus who was like an upperclassman, and she was like helping out in a volunteer, or whatever. And she's on the bus on the way back, and she had been the volunteer for the hypnotist one night, and she was talking about how cool it was. And I said, "Yeah, I can't believe the things you said, like the thing with the whipped cream." And she's like, "Oh my God, did I tell you all about that?" And everyone was like, "No, he was joking." And like, oh, not anymore. We would like to know more about that now.
I've done that like accidental call somebody out on a real thing before. I've done it twice to pregnant women where I've been like, or I've been like, oh, she's pregnant, and like this was at Verizon. A woman I worked with kind of was like, "Oh, I don't feel so good," and walked out. And I said to the other person who was in the room, I was like, "She's pregnant," and the other person knew, and it was like brand new. And she goes, "She told you? You're not supposed to say anything." And I was like, "I was joking. I did not know." The amount of people I've guessed were pregnant is astonishing. It is in the double digits, and I've never guessed to their face and been wrong. So, yeah,
Because that would be a regret.
yeah.
Congratulations on the pregnancy. No, I'm just bloated this week.
No, but I will say, in my own defense, or my own. So, there's been a lot of me saying that about someone feeling sick, like, oh, they're pregnant. There's also been one person goes, guess what? And I was like, you're pregnant, and they were like, "Oh, you knew?" And I'm like, "Nope."
So when Madhavi got pregnant with Leah, it was a bit of a surprise, and we had fertility treatments to have Jacob, and Joseph was right behind when she was still in cycle. So we have not been using protection for years and not had another pregnancy, and we were looking into adoption because we wanted a daughter. So Leah was a bit of a surprise, and we were opening a theater, and like my comedy group was going to be playing at the grand opening of the theater, so we were having a rehearsal with this new group we just had gotten together, and Madhavi calls me on the phone, on my cell phone, during rehearsal, which she never does because she knows I'm running rehearsal because I'm the director. So I have to take the call. So I jump out of warming up and Mikey take over. I run backstage, take the call, see what's wrong. And she's just like, "Are you sitting down, Daddy?" And I'm like, "Oh, am I what?" So I'm a little freaked out. So the rest of the rehearsal, I'm a little preoccupied. So at the end of the rehearsal, Mikey pulls me aside. Mikey is my best friend and my assistant director, producer of the group, partner in comedy crime, and he's like, "Man, what's wrong?" And he knows something's wrong if Madhavi called in the middle of rehearsal. And I said, "Well, I'm not supposed to say anything this early because we just found out, but apparently Madhavi's pregnant." And he's like, "Oh shit, man, are you okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, we wanted a baby, we just didn't know we were able to have one." So 2 weeks later is the grand opening of the theater. And Madhavi's coming in. We see her coming across the parking lot, and Mikey comes running over and says, "Does she know that I know?" I'm like, "No." He goes, "Okay, okay, okay." She walks in. She's like, "Hey." She gives him a hug, and he looks at her up and down. He goes, "Does Matthew know?" And she goes, "She goes what?" He goes, I have two kids. I've seen that look." And she goes, and she grabs him and drags him like to stage right, a little prop room that stage right, and she's like, "We're not telling anyone yet. Yeah, I'm pregnant." And she's like, How can you tell? How can you tell?" He goes, "Well, first of all, you have that glow. Second of all, I can see it in your eyes. Third of all, Matthew told me 2 weeks ago."
That's awesome. Yeah, we
And he
will.
is Leah's godfather, so it all worked out.
Nice. Yeah. When and if we have that situation again, I will not be telling anybody too early because I came into work two a little over 2 years ago, and Sarah and I had been trying, and I think I had mentioned that to a coworker or two, and I just had a look on my face, and my coworker said, "Oh, is Sarah pregnant?" And, or she goes, "You look like you got a surprise. Is Sarah pregnant?" I was like, "Yeah." And I said, "But we're not telling anybody." And it was like there was like three or four of us, that all people that I like trusted from work. And this guy was coming around the corner, and he heard, and he comes around and goes, "Oh my god, I just heard! Congrats!" And I'm like, "Okay, but we're not telling anybody." And he walks away, and within like 30 seconds, another person comes over and goes, "I just heard the news." And I'm like, "What?" And she's like, "I just heard the news." And I'm like, "How did you hear?" And she's like, "Blah blah blah told me." I'm like, and I've like went over, I'm like, "Dude, what the fuck?" And he goes, "Well, you told them." I'm like, "I told you I'm not telling anybody." They guessed because we had been talking about the fact that we were trying, like, or that we were going to start trying, and they saw it on my face. I'm like, "We're not telling anybody." He goes, "Oh, okay." And then he gets on a call with his boss, and I had to go grab something from his desk or something while he's on the call with his boss, and he's like on his one-on-one, and he looks at me and he goes, "Don't worry, I'm not telling her. I just told her you had some news that you weren't ready to tell anybody yet." I'm like, "What the fuck?" And I like, and and then we, fast forward 3 weeks to a month or whatever it was before we found out that Sarah was having an ectopic pregnancy, and obviously that ends up being a miscarriage,
Non-viable
or
pregnancy.
yeah, or depending on stage, it's either a miscarriage or a is it a DNC? Is that what they call it? She didn't have to have a DNC, but it was a miscarriage. And he's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry." And I'm like, "This is why you don't make a big deal in the first trimester." I'm like, "We knew this." And so I learned that I will be keeping
It's
real
funny when we
quiet.
had Jacob had the same thing. Like my close friends at work knew we were doing a fertility specialist. So the day I came in walking on air, like
Yeah,
everybody guessed, like
yeah. I mean, I just was like, it was so irritating that this guy just couldn't get it. And actually, when I snapped at him the day of, when he after like the third big deal of the day, I snapped at him. He was like, "I'm gonna go out for a walk on my lunch. I'll have the safari hat on if you want to hit me with your car." And I'm like, "I want you to just shut the fuck up. Like I don't want to hit you with the car. I want you to just behave like an adult because you're a 40 fucking year old man and not, you know, act like a child." But anyway.
You should have hit him. We should have rented the bus. She could have been the proof of concept for our business.
When you mentioned the bus I was editing last episode. I think that it must have cut out or something because I don't remember hearing you say the bus thing when we were recording. That happens almost every week now, where I hear some snippet that you must have said that I didn't get through the live feed, and so you said it, and I was like, I think you're referring to that from like 15 or 20 episodes ago, and then he never referred to it again, and then like all of a sudden he's brought it back. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure that's what he's referring to. And so when you just said it, I was like, oh, okay. Matthew's just a psycho. I
I prefer high functioning sociopath, but thank you.
meant it as a compliment. So
I took it as a compliment.
good.
This Ming is a psycho. You
This
don't know that one
Ming?
either. It's okay. This Ming is a psycho. Which one of them said that? The fair-haired stranger. Come forward. No, nothing. Greatest movie ever made. It's fine.
Greatest movie ever made. It's gonna be something real shitty now that you said that. It's gonna be like Rocky Horror Picture Show or
Close. I'm looking at my DVD collection. It should be right here, and
oh,
it's not here.
Flash Gordon.
It is Flash Gordon.
Flash Gordon approaches. I only know about Flash Gordon
What do
because
you
of
mean,
Queen.
Flash Gordon approaching?
I only know about it
Flash. Dun, dun, dun,
because of the Queen song. Yeah.
I say because in Ted they reference it.
Yeah, that's why I downloaded that song, is because of
It's a
was
great
it
soundtrack.
Sam something or other played Flash
Sam
Gordon?
Jones.
Sam Jones.
Met him a couple of years ago at Comic Con, well, either SuperCon or GalaxyCon in Raleigh. Um, and yeah, he didn't have a huge line, so I spent like a half an hour talking to him. Like we're hanging out, and he was very cool because every time a police officer walked by, he'd flag them over, get their name, sign a 8x10, his picture for them, and then say, "I'm going to leave it here on the bottom shelf of the my pedestal here, so you can grab it at the end of your shift. It'll just be here for you. Just rifle through and find yours." Like if like literally every cop who went by, he signed an autograph for.
That's cool. I like when people are cool like that.
Yeah, we had a nice long chat. It was very cool. And he was talking about how like he has a resurgence of popularity because of the movie Ted. Like it's like all of a sudden he's
Yeah.
popular again.
Should we wrap it up?
Okay, let's start rapping. I'll do the beatbox. You rap.
People who don't wrap it up tend to have regrets. That's a condom joke.
That's a kind of joke.
All right. So we mentioned this before earlier in the episode, but if you are listening to us on any of your podcast apps, please give us a like, a follow, a thumbs up, a review, whatever your podcast app allows you to do. We know that they changed the terminology a little bit between them. If you're listening on Apple, or if you're not listening on Apple, you can go give us a review there anyway. But if you are listening on Apple, you can get this episode 1 week early, and or any episodes 1 week early, and you will get them ad free. Which, as of Friday, we're going to start having ads. We will be monetized as of actually by the time this episode goes out, other than obviously the live stream.
Thank you for listening because that's why we're being monetized.
Yep. So we appreciate all of you listening.
If you're not listening, screw you. We don't appreciate you.
And you aren't hearing that anyway. But to get ad free, it'll be $1 an episode on Apple or on one of the versions of Patreon that we have. $1, sorry, not $1 episode, $1 a month, which ends up being 25 cents an episode, or if it's a very special month, 20 cents an episode.
Come on, you could spare 2 bits for us.
Yeah, 2 bits. Some people say we only have 2 bits that we do. So, anyway, If you want to give us some money, that's a good way of doing it. Is subscribing at the $1 level. But we also, if you want to get some less censored content, for $3 at patreon.com/ talking about the big stuff, we have a $1, $3, and $10 options.
$10.
Yeah, ten
Wow, you must talk
dollars
about fisting on that version.
we talk about the big stuff on that version, the biggest stuff, getting stuffed by the biggest part of your body that will fit. That's Is there a term for foot fisting, like
I
footing?
think you just
Is
made it.
it foot fisting? Um, this is
Fruit by the foot.
I really hope that none of my family found this episode or the last 5 episodes live.
Are the ones that I'm on.
Yeah, and well, okay, and YouTube. If you're watching us on YouTube right now, please like and subscribe. Ring the bell. We are on here every week at 6:30 on Tuesdays. Or
Except for the rare occasion we have to switch it up because we have a guest and we need to do it on the guest schedule, or
yeah,
one of us is out of the country or something like that.
yeah, yep. Which actually we're going to be doing. We're probably going to the next 2 weeks. We're probably going to do doubles. Because I will be away for 2 Tuesdays because of Hawaii. It's hard to tell
Damn you,
you that I'm
Hawaii.
going to Hawaii and ask you for money, but I'm going to do it anyway. Uh, but no, we will be doing. We'll probably be doing 4 episodes over the next 2 weeks, and so that we can get ahead on those. And so, if you want to watch us live, like I said, Tuesdays at 6:30 typically, and we will be talking about the big stuff. If you
And
are
at some
watching
point, we're going to
live,
have a special weekend stream because we have a friend in France who wants to be on the show. So when we can work out a weekend because of the time zone difference, it's going to be phenomenal.
yes,
And ladies, he's very handsome, not like us.
I mean, I wish that you wouldn't throw me in under the bus in that, but I
That's
mean,
my
I'm not
side
Remy
business.
handsome. I'm not I'm not Remy handsome, but like, come on. Someone at work today told me that I'm looking thinner in the face, and I said that's because I got more beard. uh,
Someone in France said I had lost weight since the last trip a year ago, and so then I was afraid to take seconds in like the breakfast and lunch buffets. That's like
nice.
he made me eat less.
If you're watching live right now, we're here every Tuesday, or we're here most Tuesdays. I shouldn't say every Tuesday. We're
Shouldn't
here
be. I
most
just said
Tuesdays.
there's exceptions to the rule.
Yes, but we appreciate you, and we would love it if you wanted to subscribe to YouTube, the YouTube channel, or Facebook. If you're watching this on Facebook right now, go on and like our Facebook page, because we're trying to grow. So help us grow. Okay, that's how I was going to end it. Just
All
help
right.
us.
So I'd say
Help us.
thanks for everybody for coming to watch us talk about the big stuff. I hope you don't regret it.
The preceding podcast has been a Chocolate Diamond Media LLC production. Copyright 2023, all rights reserved.